Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Voices of the Resistance, where we give a platform for all those who resist radical Islamic terrorism in any form. And we also, every once in a while, are going to start talking about issues that are important to our Afghan allies and other allies who made it here to our shores. I am Will Sulver, sometimes known as GCV6, sometimes known as a lot of other names that I won't mention. But hey, that's all right. We accept everybody here at GCV, veterans, grumpy or sad, or happy every once in a while too. That's all right. So hey, I'm delighted to have. First, I'm going to introduce our new GCV media intern. I'm going to hand it over now to Miss Jillian Butler to kind of introduce herself a little bit, and then kind of give us a little bit of the details about a murder of a NMRG, and I'll let her break that down, but basically it was an Afghan soldier who was in defused bombs. A murder of an Afghan special forces in Houston about a month or so ago. So Jillian, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here and excited to do more with GCV and the Bulwark. So for this specific article, a 31-year-old NMRG former team member, he was living as a refugee in his Houston apartment with his wife and his young children. I think both were under 5. He was shot in cold blood under what looks to be a dispute over a parking lot issue. The assailant, murderer, he turned himself in. For reasons unbeknownst to us, he has been let go. No charges were pressed. Not a ton of information about that. It appears that he might be brought in front of a grand jury, which I will say, in my opinion, just seems like buying time.
All right, so neither of us have gone to law school, but, we did watch a lot of television growing up, and I watched LA Law, damn it. And so I know. No, I asked
one
a
of my
couple of
favorite
people.
shows. So.
Yeah, right. But you're right. They haven't released the name, nor have they taken him or charged him. So, inshallah, maybe they'll do a grand jury. Go ahead, continue.
So this man was a war hero, absolutely. He served with Green Berets and EOD techs during the War on Terror, where he and his group, they would lead out in front of everybody detecting explosives. Extremely dangerous job, but saved a tremendous amount of lives. Has done more for America than I would say the most average American has.
Oh,
And
yes.
he came here for safety and got killed here in cold blood.
Yeah, for NMRG, for those, this National Mine Resistance Group, they work with special forces across the country. They were, I believe, they were direct employees, and that's how a lot of them were able to qualify for special immigrant visas. Unlike some of the ANAA soldiers who were not actually working directly for the American government. It's only something an American lawyer could come up with, but that's the distinction, and that's why he was able to get here. I think, was it during the fall or shortly thereafter?
It was right after. He got on the plane quite literally 2 hours before ISIS-K attacked the airport.
Wow. And for those of us who have been keeping track at home, while these murders are not related, this is, not the first time that we have seen an Afghan get killed in Houston. There was another one about a month ago, but that seems to have been resolved quite quickly. There was a Lancaster, Pennsylvania stabbing that occurred a couple of months ago, and we did an episode about it with our good friend Amadullah, and we're still waiting on that. And so, General, could you explain maybe to the viewers, General Alizai, he's back, the former head of the Afghan National Army. Thank you for returning to the episode, or to the show, may say. Could you tell us a little bit about the importance of these NMRG members for our audience? Because EOD, bomb, why were they so important for your forces?
Yeah, thank you. We all know GWAT was all about bombs and roadside bombs and anti-personnel bombs. And we all remember different parts of Afghanistan, from south to north to east to west to central Afghanistan. This is the cheapest way that the enemy, the Taliban, could use against all of us, either Afghan National Defense and Security Forces or the coalition and American forces back in 20 years. During that time, NMRG were part of all enabled and partnered operations. If they were GAF operations, which is ground assault force operations, or HAF operations, which is helicopter assault force operations, which used to be conducted during night raids and sometimes during day as well, but used to be used the helicopter. So these men, the NMRG was the lead to protect Afghan and American special forces on the ground. So they would clear the area, they would clear the IEDs, the explosives, and then the assault teams would go in and they would breach and do all other stuff. As far as they would not give a thumbs up to the forces, to the assault forces, no one would move. So that they were that critical. And I can assure you that they have prevented thousands of Afghan and American soldiers' lives. And they have cleared each one of these operatives. Don't look at them like, oh, they are just ordinary people. No, they are specialized in diffusing IEDs. Yeah, the most complex IEDs and the booby traps and everything that would be looking our forward to our soldiers on the ground. These NMRGs would go and clear them all. And it was a risk, brother. It's not easy. You have to be very qualified person to do that. And you have to have a big heart and you have to be very smart to do that.
Yeah, I am not. I'm just an Air Force until weenie trying to hang out with cool people. But when I was in Gorak, Kandahar with some pretty tough guys, I didn't have an MRG. I had just an American EOD team. I never had the honor to serve alongside MRG guys. But if anybody has ever really witnessed a lonely walk, and that is when somebody gets out of the vehicle and walks forward by themselves, I tell you what, it will take your breath away at the amount of bravery it takes to do something like that. It is, I tell you what, it's the bravest people on the battlefield, as far as I'm concerned. I saw quite a few of them not make it. I know how many NMRG, I don't know how many NMRG members were killed, but it ain't zero, and it's probably quite a few. Because unlike their American counterparts, this was more of a homegrown operation. They didn't have all of the best that we have, and that was by design so that it could be sustainable. And these guys, I mean, the things that they diffused, the things that they were able to do, I don't know. To say that he earned his place among us is beside the point. Now we're talking about why doesn't this man have justice? I mean, don't you think, Julian? I mean, it's like, what is it about this case that makes it so difficult to at least tell the assailant's name, right?
Exactly. I didn't want to outright say it in the piece, but I think the fact that he is Afghan and not American is a factor.
Absolutely. I mean, look, if this was me or maybe somebody more popular and something like that happened, I think it would be a much bigger story. And at the very least, you know, when I went down there, so for our listeners, Julian wrote a lot of the piece, or almost all of it, and I kind of went down and did a lot of the interviews in Houston about 3 weeks or so ago. And I tell you what, a couple of things that really caught me, General Alizai. One is that it, like, these Afghans, they actually protested, right? They went to the HPD and they protested. And that there was, when I met with these Afghan community leaders, their message was, we don't have time to get in trouble. We're all just trying to make it in this country, no matter what. And there was a quote, and maybe you could kind of talk to me about it, General, where I'm sitting next to this Afghan, and he says, look, what am I supposed to tell my children? If to follow the rules, if we follow the rules and somebody who murders their friends are let go, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I talked with the community guys, to some guys around that area, living that area. They were all like the Houston community. They are like, hey, we need justice. You know, that's all we need. And this is something good for our future and future generations. Like, we have to tell our kids that we were among those, and we also saved their lives, and now we are being killed here while we are seeking for safety, and at least we cannot find the justice here. This is one thing, and they were asking. The second thing, like, their family, his kids, his wife, are now living with his brother and other family members, but still it's not enough. They need jobs, they need fundraising, they need support, constant support. Someone or somebody or some groups should step in and help them out, because the guy is gone now. Wazir is not amongst us now, but his family exists. We have to have something for his sons and daughters. We have to offer them something. And beside the justice, taking care of his family was another ask from the Afghan community in the Houston, which is we can do both, or at least we can do one in our hands, that is supporting his family for immediate support and midterm and long-term support, school, college, and stuff like that, that we would look forward to have for ourselves if something happens to me tomorrow and my kids and my wife and my children are left like in the middle of nowhere. It would be very difficult for them to resist with the problems in the life. And this is something that we all promise to each other, that we will live for we will live for each other, and we will fight for each other.
Yeah, I mean, that's why the last head of the Afghan National Army and I was just a lieutenant colonel. Very well said, General Alizai. I couldn't agree with you more. You know, one of the things, Jillian, that caught me in the story you wrote is, the outpouring of support from gentlemen like Thomas Kaza and other Green Berets, because I mean, these people, they weren't just somebody to the left, somebody that was going to go get that bomb. I mean, these are screened people. These were the Afghans who fought. If you're the ones who
Yeah,
think that they didn't, so
they were the only ones allowed in American bases with weapons too. That's an immense amount of trust. And the fact that it was such an inter-community hiring process, it's you have a friend that works there and they get you a job there, or your father and a son. It's that level of trust in the community. It's
Yeah,
something.
absolutely.
yeah. I mean, one of the things. So I was in Afghanistan a bunch of times, and I did something called village stability operations with Green
Yeah.
Berets, and we didn't have NMRGs. I wish maybe we did, and I don't remember, but I don't remember us having any. But I tell you what, man, they weren't just on static. These are the ones that would go into a nighttime assertion with special mission wing commandos, with the most dangerous and most complex stuff that I never did. And so, I mean, this was the ones that you would have your ANISOC commandos with. Am I right, General? When
Yes,
you're the
absolutely.
ANISOC core commandos?
Yep, absolutely. I was on, I can tell you one example of one operation of several operations in 2009 when I just got the position as the corps commander, and we were walking in a village in the Charbolak district, and it was close to evening. It was getting dark, and we got a shout from behind like, hey, don't move and don't move forward. We said, what's going on? And I saw it's NMRG guys telling us that there is some ID threats. You should be careful with that. Don't move unless we clear the path for you guys. So this is my own personal experience, and we all knew them, all the NSOC, Special Forces, Commandos, the Ketejas, everybody knew them, and we were living in the same barracks with the American ODAs and Special Forces. And you know what? I met a few of NMRGs back in 2022 in Washington, D.C., and trust me, I saw a couple of them. They lost their legs. They didn't have legs. They didn't have hands, and they were not blown up here in U.S. They were
Yeah.
not blown up in their houses. They were blown up because the ODAs and the Afghan Special Forces had joint operations together, and these NMRGs were the front line for them to clear the IEDs and the explosives from their way, and it just blown up on them, and they lost their parts of their body. Like, it's just a couple people I saw. I'm sure there are many more there.
Yeah.
So if that kind of trust was established, that as Jillian said, that they would go with their weapons and they were allowed to go with their weapons to the American bases. Yes, that's damn true. And
Yeah.
that's like, you rely on them, you rely your life and security on them, and then you suddenly bring them here and they suddenly get killed, and there's no justice for them. Why? Because they're, maybe I'm wrong, I should not say this, but I have to, because they are Afghans.
Yes.
but they are your friends, they are your partners, they are the people that once you also rely on them.
Yeah, maybe by the time this comes out, he'll get charged. The assailant's name will come out. And you know what? I'll be really happy and everything. But I think one of the things that people need to understand is that these refugees, right, are very vulnerable right now.
Yeah.
They have no refugee assistance services anymore. You like it, don't like it, they're gone. Okay? No judgment call, vote for whoever you want. But they just don't have that. And really all they have, just like every refugee group that is trying to cluster and survive, is each other.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was amazing, and I just kind of want to put this out there, is that they protested peacefully and they're using all their powers to make this a noise. And let me tell you something. I know Afghans pretty well. I speak a little Pashto and Dari. And I tell you what they've been able to do here to just attract media attention is impressive.
Yeah.
I'm heartened by it because it's the first time I've seen an actual, and maybe I haven't been paying attention enough, an actual like protest. I saw, this is amazing, somewhere out there there's my former interpreter Mukhtar. I saw you on Texas television at the protest. I nearly fell out of my chair. I was like, hey, I know that guy. That's one of my interpreters. And you know what? I was proud of him. Because that's what you're supposed to do. And that's what being an American is being able to protest, demanding justice for your people. Because out of all the people walking around, in my opinion, these are the very people who have earned their place among us.
Yeah.
He was an SIV. He had decades of service in the most dangerous environments. And that he's been murdered to leave in, his widow and his children to survive in a brand new country is a devastating blow to that family.
That with the family too, it's the fact that the widow and the kids, they were uprooted once leaving Afghanistan. They found roots in Houston. Now the husband and father is dead, and they're just uprooted all over again. It's the fact that they're the ones that have to leave. It's a total miscarriage of justice.
It absolutely is, and I don't want to belabor the point. We're not going to go on for too much, but I just want to kind of add one more thing to this. There's been a lot of recently a lot of Afghans committing suicide.
Yeah.
I kind of want to point this out. There was a Afghan Air Force pilot who committed suicide in Iran. We'll put the link in the show notes. There was another recent one of another one that committed suicide in Pakistan. This has happened before in the United States. And recently, there's been a little social media about an Afghan who pulled a gun out on a cop, and the cop killed him. It happened in Virginia. And I haven't seen it all, but I heard it. And and I don't know this to be true. This is just pure speculation. But I listened to the video. I didn't watch it because I don't want to watch that. And this is a man, I've seen men do this with my uniform on. It's called suicide by cop.
Yeah.
You can hear the betrayal in his voice. He's saying all the things that I've done for you, all the things that I'm trying to do, all the bureaucratic stuff. It's like this litany of gripes. And finally, he snaps and he decides, you know what? This is it. Might as well be now. Now, for a lot of people, they'll go, oh, this is why vetting is important. Sure, vetting is important. You're not going to vet that out of somebody. I'm so sorry. You're not going to vet PTSD. You're not going to vet 20 years of war, 5-6 years of war. I hate to say this to everybody, but our Afghan allies, they don't get VA benefits, however good or bad yours may be. Mine have been bad. But, there's no health treatment program for Afghan soldiers, even SIVs. Maybe you can get one through Medicaid. Maybe you can get one through that. But these are men who are struggling in a brand new society, trying to make it. And a lot of them are struggling. And so when you see stuff like this, when you see somebody who is doing everything right get killed and there is no justice, look, that's disheartening for people, man.
I've seen
go ahead.
I've seen the same suicide pattern. I've been watching it for a piece I'd like to write. with
Of
women
course.
and girls that are stuck in Afghanistan.
Oh yeah.
Because with the rollback of the rights of women and girls in the Taliban, the quality of life there, I mean, I cannot begin to fathom experiencing that. Like that's just so night and day from how I live. It sounds like absolute hell.
Yeah.
And there have been patterns of girls that are, teens, 20s that are taking their own lives, especially to escape forced marriages now. It's
Yes.
awful.
If you go to Afghanistan social media
Yeah.
environment, especially after this last soldier or officer who ever that was who was killed by cops or suicide by cops, like first I
Hmm.
would say there's different kinds of suicide and
Yeah.
people just try to have an opportunity to just get killed. There
Hmm.
are reasons behind that. And in that video, this guy is clearly saying things that need to be considered. And this is not only him, this is not the only case. Trust
Yeah.
me, in almost 4 years now, only among the Afghan special forces in zero units here in US, I can give you a list of those who has committed suicide, and no one talks about that, and they have problems with their work, with their condition here. Their
Yes.
families are
Yes.
are are left behind. They are not being
Oh.
brought. Their immigration status is not just moving forward. They are like they don't know anything. They don't understand the language, and they're saying like, "Hey, we were brought here." And going back to the Afghanistan's social media and media environment, if you look at that and you read those comments, especially from the Taliban and their associates, and they're like saying, good, like shame on you guys telling
Yeah.
us like you supported and helped Americans for 20
Yeah.
years, now you have to suffer from that. And this is bad. This is
Yeah.
they make fun of us, all of us.
Yeah.
They
Huh?
make fun of us in several different fronts, which makes other people to realize like, what the hell?
I
It's
want to cut.
affecting some
Yes.
other parts of the government and the foreign policy and friendships and strategic relationships and everything else in a bad way.
One of the things that, and I'll just have one more opinion and then we'll wrap it up. But, one of the things, as we talk about the Afghans who are, you know, they're thriving. So I have friends like, Colonel Kyle Shinwari, who is an Afghan Air Force pilot, and he was the first C-130 pilot, and he's flying, as we speak. There's other ones that are just crushing it, right? But there's also other ones that they weren't fluent in English because they didn't get to go to all the great schools. That doesn't mean that they weren't brave men. That doesn't mean that they haven't deserved it. But it's a harder transition for some Afghans who didn't get to come here for the schooling because there were limited slots. Let me tell you something. You want to see Afghans perform? Say, hey, here's a test that you have to take to go to a professional military university in the West. And let me tell you something. You'll see some standouts come out. But not everybody makes it because there's only like a couple. And all of those men might not be able to understand the intricacies of our immigration system, our laws, everything from how to fill out a job, how to drive when you first get here, how to communicate, how to survive. Because I cannot emphasize this enough. And I'll close out and I'll turn it over to you, Julian, for final thoughts, as well as you, General Azad. But I think that empathy is the right way to view this. Empathy for our brother who lost his life and his family, Waziri. Empathy for the ones that his peers may have committed suicide by cop. That doesn't mean he should have pulled the gun out on a cop. Absolutely not. He shouldn't do that. That does not mean that I excuse an Afghan from doing that. That's not that law enforcement official's fault that you're having a bad day. Just like it wouldn't be my fault or their fault if I did something like that. But nevertheless, there's a reason why. And it's not because he hates his country. It's that he is just a combat veteran like me, struggling to make sense of a completely different world. I mean, I struggle in this country now. And I speak fluent English. I speak Texan, but nevertheless. And I just want people to empathize with our allies because they're not only, some of them are struggling here, but just today I was talking to somebody. And he said, look, one of his sisters or his relatives, I think, their cousin, had been followed home by the Taliban from their place of work. And it was a woman. And they looked at her and they said, don't come out of the house again. Now, what is this young person supposed to do with that? He can't do nothing about it. I can't get her out. And so, but he soldiers on because that's what he's trying to do to take care of his family. But he has to carry that with him without really any type of mental health or really type of assistance because it's been taken away. So I've gone on and on for too long, as I tend to do. But Jillian, do you have any closing thoughts?
No, other than highlighting the empathy, I think that's important. It's so I'm sure that suicide by cop made newspapers as some horrific violent thing, and again, I'm not excusing it. That's not a good thing. But you have to think about the kind of circumstances that somebody was under to do something like that. That isn't something that somebody who's, having a good day, really has a lot of stability in their life and has things going for them do. Like, that's such an irregular action. You have to be in a very irregular position to commit it. And I think a lot of people have their hard time wrapping their heads around that.
General Alice,
Yeah,
any
I
closing
have been
thoughts?
in law enforcement as well, and I know that business as well.
It's
It could
true.
be handled in a different way. Before he would use his gun, but that was not a good action. I'm not praising that, but it's a lesson for us for the future. The
Yeah.
Afghan veterans and American veterans, especially GWAT veterans from both countries, they are the same people. They have almost the same issues, but Afghans have more serious issues. They are in a new country. Like, we should treat them, we should help them the right way, in a better way, and be a little bit more patient with them unless they stand on their feet. I have been suffering. I'm still suffering. I know English as well. I'm very well connected, but still suffering. But if my situation is like this, like, compare this to Waziri or to the other guy that was killed the other day. Like, Taliban are killing them in Afghanistan. They are putting them in the prisons there. Iranians are killing them and executing them every day. We have a lot of cases in Pakistan. Our guys, our soldiers, our veterans were assassinated in last 3-4 years. And the same thing in every part of the world. You see the whole back things are being happened to two communities. One is the women community in Afghanistan,
Yeah.
the other is the veterans community of
Oh yeah.
Afghanistan. And trust me, they are being really poorly treated by everybody in this world. And I don't know what's wrong with that. At least we that are here and we are safe, and our American partners and veterans and allies, that we fought together and we were fighting to save each other. Right now we are just turning back and we are just putting people into the list that they should go back to Afghanistan, like, or some other stuff. I think it needs to be, we need to take a break first and
Yeah.
think twice, and then move with some good decisions, especially when it comes to the waiting. We are ready to help. Like,
Yeah.
we will make it very easy. Even I never heard from any government officials in 3 4 years now that they would reach out to me as the most senior officer in the Afghan army to just ask my opinion, like, regarding waiting. It's too
Yeah.
easy for us. It's not
It's
that
way easy.
complicated.
This
And
is
I think
so,
so
you
many
know,
Afghans who are supportive of the vetting, they want that to happen.
absolutely. They want
Absolutely.
it to be vetted. But let me tell you something. The reason why it doesn't work every time is because they just use one method, and that is I'm going to type in the number in the phone and all this into the computer, and it's going to spit out the answer, okay? I've vetted before. That's one way, but another way to do it is to use the human network of people who can actually ask people from the area, people who I don't know who have, like me, top secret clearances, full scope, half scope, whatever. These are the ways that we can actually go about vetting. But we'll save this whole enchilada for another day. But I want to thank Julian and
Thank
welcome to GCV. I can't wait to start
you.
reading and seeing more of you. And General Alizai, it's always a pleasure to see you and have you on the show. You'll be back many times. Everybody, do me a favor. Make sure to get a subscription to GCV. It's free. But if you want to throw us some money, hey, $50 a year, you get two different podcasts, and then one every other day. It's like a daily one. It's like 10 minutes. And then you get at least one article a day. And the vast majority of our articles are free because you can't change hearts and minds behind a paywall. But we're going to start putting a little bit more behind a paywall because I got a lot of hungry people to feed. So this is my plea to you. hey, do me a favor. Just sign up. Give us a whirl. You know what? If I annoy you, you can go. You don't even have to read me. There's plenty of other people. You get to see all the other Afghans, like Kyle Shinwari, like Whispers of Aqsa, Memo from the Generals, what Julian's going to start writing, and many, many more that we don't even have yet. And so I just wanted to say, hey, give us a chance. Forward it to your enemies, forward it to your friends, I don't care. Forward it to somebody, and help us bridge the Civ Mill gap and give a platform to those who resist anti-Taliban or anti-Islamic terrorism. I am GCV6, and I'm out.
Thank you. Bye.